Ok. Pour ceux qui étaient là, non, il n'y en avait pas, hein, oui, quelques-uns, 2, 3 peut-être, qui étaient là l'année passée. Emanuela, c'est la deuxième fois qu'elle vient chez nous. Professeure Emanuela Dalla Costa. Elle a fait ses études à Milan. Ouais. Elle est également vétérinaire. Diplômée du Collège européen aussi sur le bien-être animal et la médecine comportementale, donc c'est une spécialiste dans ces domaines-là. Collaboratrice du projet européen Animal Welfare Indicators, ça vous avez vu tout à l'heure, elle en a parlé ce matin, Barbara. Développeuse d'un protocole d'évaluation du bien-être des équidés et des reconnaissances de la douleur, ça elle fait beaucoup de recherches en ce moment là-dessus. Elle va d'ailleurs vous en parler. Et puis actuellement, elle est professeure associée et chercheuse au département de médecine vétérinaire de l'Université de Milan. Voilà. Emanuela.
Thank you. Bonjour à tous. Thank you, Jill, for inviting us and give us the possibility to speak to you about our research and welfare of horses. And I hope next time I can present in French. Maybe I can, I can try. Okay. Now we will focus on the link between sport, so travail, and welfare of the horse. That is a topic that for me is really important because we keep horses for sport and leisure mainly. Now I would like to ask you some questions, so please. Okay. You can go on vuclap.com and then put the code CXMSQB, so the code that you find here. Okay. The code is here, so you can just log in. This is the first question. I would like to know more about you. So, do you ride or work with your horse? This is an easy answer. Okay. Most of you have a horse and ride or walk with them. And this for me is really important, just to be focused on what we will see in the next slide. And the other question that I would like you to answer is about the question activity do you do with your horse? Okay, it seems that most of you do leisure riding. I will refer to training, but I refer to all the type of work we can do with horses. And as you know, there is a variety of different equestrian activities that we can perform with horses. And equestrians include different disciplines and includes also disciplines when the horse is not ridden. Sorry. Today we gain a deep understanding of what is horse welfare. Ensuring horse welfare is a human responsibility, and you learn this today. Now I would like you to focus on the two main aspects of a positive welfare state. Horses should be healthy and should be in a positive emotional state. remember that welfare state varies according to the perception of the situation by the single animal. So we need to focus on individuals, meaning that we should always take into account the feeling of the horse in that particular situation, and not always focus only on what we give to the horse. So the emotional state, I think, is really, really important. And for training and working is a most important thing. So what about sport? If you think about an equine discipline training, we train both physical and mental. So we are riding individuals, animals, and they can be fit for training, but they can also perceive feeling when they are trained. The welfare of horses within the equestrian world is increasingly being scrutinized by both the public and stakeholders, and I'm very happy that today you are here, because this means that you are interested in knowing more about horse welfare. The main concerns are related to injuries and pain, because they happen, but also fatigue and emotional state. As Barbara told before, the FEI, Fédération Équestre Internationale, states that horse welfare must be paramount and never put aside to competitive or commercial influences. Furthermore, the sport should be to produce a happy athlete, both if we think about people, so riders, but also for horses. So I have another question for you. Do you think that training for a specific equestrian activity or discipline can impact on horse welfare? So can change the horse welfare? Okay. We all agree that equine discipline and training can impact on horse welfare. And I think that this morning and before, we had really nice presentation that helped us in learning about this. So, as you said, training a horse for a specific equestrian activity may influence several aspects of their life, both from the physical point of view, but also from the emotional, mental point of view. This work from Mendoza pointed out that training can influence horse perception of different stimuli and their reaction to these stimuli. So how we train can influence how they perceive and react to stimuli. And this can have an important impact on human safety as well, because if I have a reactive horse, this can be dangerous for me. This can have also an influence on human-horse relationship, because if we train in a harsh way, the horse learns to associate me, so the person, to this training that is not good for them, and so the relationship just becomes worse, and maybe the horse is scared of me and start to react. Finally, specific discipline training can predispose horses to sport-related physical injuries, and this we should always take into account that the horse can be injured during training or during the life, and we cannot ride the horse if he's injured. But to understand, to recognize that the horse is injured, we need to understand that the horse can feel pain and can react to this pain, changing their behavior. So now we start focusing on the mental aspect of training. Horse training is often focused on sports performance. So most of the equestrian activities are exclusively played in arenas. So if I have a horse for show jumping or dressage, usually I train in the arena, not outside in the nature. And for this reason, horses spend most of their life from their box, if they are kept in box, to the arena and back and forth. If you think about this situation, you can understand that horses do not have any occasion or few occasions to meet other external stimuli, but external stimuli are present in the environment. Cars, dogs, people, wind that can move things around. And if they do not know these stimuli, the first time that they face with these stimuli, they can be scared. I mean, they are prey species, so it's a natural reaction. And this aspect is known in science as stimulus deprivation. Stimulus deprivation, by definition, is the process by which someone is deprived of normal external stimuli. It's well known in pets, so small animals. In the case of horses, we really do not focus on this aspect, especially when they are young. They need to know many things to adapt and habituate to many different stimuli. And if you think to young animals, they need to learn that the world is also outside the stable, not only inside, because, as we said before, they can be scared of objects or something new in the environment, but if they learn to cope with this situation, they can then learn to cope with new situations they will face later in their life. And I think that really, this is very, very important, because a foal maybe is born in a stable, but then move and change the environment he's living in, and maybe he undergo to transport and many different situations. And if he's not able to cope with this situation, it will be a stressed horse for all his life. Another important aspect of sport and leisure horses is reactivity. Reactivity is the ability of an individual to react fast to stimuli. And if we think about horses, we communicate with them when we ride them using aids. If you react to aids, is a good horse and is easy to train. So I think that we select this for sport and leisure horses. This aspect can be seen by riders as an advantage, and it seems that the horse learns fast, and we love this aspect, sometimes, not in all horses. However, this reactivity is linked in horses to fear. I don't like this, and I just fly. Is a prey species, and is a way to defend to predators is just to fly, to run fast. And it has been demonstrated that training, so when we train horses for different equine disciplines, we can influence this reactivity and the emotional response to different stimuli, meaning that if we habituate them to different stimuli, they are less reactive, but they are also less stressed in their situation. A reactive horse is usually very alert also outside the training arena. As we saw this morning, we can go in a stable and look at the horses. There are always some of them that are really alert, even if there is nothing in the environment. They are just waiting for something happen to react. And if you think about this behavior, you can understand that these horses, these reactive or alert horses, are stressed chronically, so every day, every hour of the day. And this can lead, as Barbara said this morning, to different physiological and behavioral response. So the physique of the horse change, and it starts to produce cortisol. So you know that an increased level of cortisol can lead to compromise the immune system, so they are more prone to develop other health issues. Scientific results have shown that low or medium level of cortisol can improve learning and enhancing memory, whereas high level, so a very reactive and stressed horse, have a bad effect on training. So they have difficulty to learn. And why? You can ask why this is present. Because as for humans, no horse can perform well when is in a situation that seems really threatening, and it just would like to fly from the situation, so to move away from the situation. Because the brain is focused only on the stimulus that threaten him, and he cannot understand and learn the other things that are around. For this reason, it's really important, if we want to train a horse in a new task or new discipline, to try to avoid this fight or flight situation. When manage and take care for horses, we need to avoid this stressful situation as well, because horses can be scared not only when in the arena or outside for a walk, but also in their box, because they see something that they don't know. Some of them react, so are stressed, even if you approach them in the box with the saddle, because they link the situation of work to a negative emotional state. So they don't want to come to work with you. And I think this is really the worst situation we can face, because I think that for all of you, riding is a pleasure, and I think that for your horse it should be the same. So I have another question for you, just because you are falling asleep. Among these options, in your opinion, which equestrian activity does the horse prefer to perform? So what is the best activity you can do with your horse? None of these. It's a difficult question, I think. Okay. Oh. So you think, I cannot read this one, but you think that leisure riding is pleasure, the horse feels pleasure and like. I mean, this is one of the questions that I usually ask to myself when I work with animals. Do they like the training? Do they like the time spent with me? And can you summary in very few words what is the moment or the work or the exercise that your horse prefer? Eating. Oh, this is interesting. So I was surprised to read walking in hand, because in Italy it's not so used activity. And playing as well. The use of positive reinforcement. Also spend some time with the owner. I mean, this is important for a horse, especially what we learned this morning. They need a social company, and if they are kept in box, the company of owners can be really, really important for them because it's their social moment. The last one. In a few words, can you say why your horse prefers that activity? This is the most difficult one. But meaning you can take our clothes, and when you are a scientist, we really need your input because you spend your time with horses. We spend most of our time in the office writing and reading. So if you have any suggestion for us, it's really useful. Experience, no stress, positive motivation. Curiosity is another interesting topic. No pressure. So give the horse time to learn and to do experiences. Okay. So as you already know, when we train horses, it's always important to take into account their emotional state. I really like this drawing. And when we train, we can induce positive and negative emotion. And this become a label of the exercise we are doing with our horse. So negative emotional state can be fear, pain, frustration, but also relief can be associated to some specific sport exercise or situation. So the horse is in pressure, as you said, as you answered to the question, and then feel relief when is able to do something else. And you should take into account this when you train horses, because sometimes we ask something that is difficult for them, but then we know that we can ask an exercise that is easy for them, that they love, and they immediately start to have a positive feeling. When we train, we should always take into account the emotional state of the horse, ensuring that he's enjoying what he's doing. I think that this is the most important thing when we train animals. And scientific study demonstrated that horses trained with positive reinforcement snorted significantly less compared to horses trained with negative reinforcement when encounter their human. So they can recognize you are a good human, or a good trainer, or a good rider, or if you are a bad one. And if you use punishment, positive punishment, they can understand this as well, and they can react negatively when they encounter you. So I think that this is really important. Another aspect is how they react. We need to try to focus on the behavior of the horse. They are telling us how they feel by showing different behavior, body tension, lip movements, the position of the head, teeth grinding. I mean, if we observe them, we can try to understand how they feel. It's difficult, but if we do not try or start doing this, we will never be able to understand horse emotion. It is well known that learning capacities are influenced by emotion. This is clear when you think about humans, but for animals it's the same. If you think to children at the school, they are not trained using positive punishment, so the stick. Okay. Usually they are asked to perform, and then if they are performing well, they are rewarded. Horses trained to perform different equine activities may use different behavioral and psychological strategy to adapt to the training condition. And this is really, really important. Each individual is different. We cannot use the same training, the same scheme for all the horses. I need to adapt my way to communicate and train the horse for the individual I'm interacting with. These differences could have important consequences in the development of the animal behavioral traits and emotional management. So if I have a foal that maybe is a bit reactive or a bit fearful, if I train him trying to focus him on, try to help him in using curiosity, so approaching different objects, and reduce the reactivity and give him time to explore instead of pushing him to interact with the object, of course, I change the way he will learn in the future. Another important aspect is behavior. As we said before, behavior is the only thing that we can see and we can link to the emotional state of the horse. At the moment, maybe in a near future, we will have new indicators. Some authors have suggested that horses from different activities might express their emotion through different behaviors. Why this? The example was done on show jumping horses that appear to be less reactive to frightened stimuli than dressage horses. But if you think about the training of a show jumping horse, it should habituate and adapt to many different stimuli. When the dressage horse just stays in the arena, and less time is dedicated to habituate them to stimuli. So this is a desensitization that we maybe do involuntarily, but is training. However, horses might not generalize, so this reduced fear response in the arena of the show jumping horse maybe is not the same when we are in the nature, so outside, having a walk with our horses. And for this reason, is really important to consider the horse a 360-degree. So I need to give them the skills to cope with all the situation in life, not only the arena or the sport, because maybe now he's doing show jumping, but then change the owner, and the new owner would like him to walk outside or doing dressage. And I mean, if we build a horse can do different sports, it would be used to cope with different situations. So it's important to think about the competencies that the horse need to be an happy horse and a happy athlete. Francesca spoke about the other 24 hours that are really important as well, because maybe we ride for 1 or 2 hours a day or a few hours a week, but housing, Martina will speak about management, are really important for horses. We know that social isolation is stressing for horses, so if we can improve and increase the possibility of horses to interact with each other, they will be easier to train because they are less stressed. If you are stressed and go to learn a new task, you are in difficulty. If you are less stressed and relaxed, you can focus on the task and you can learn easily. So we will finish speaking about the physical side of horse riding work. So we will focus on injuries and fatigue. Do you think that pain is frequent in sport and leisure horses? Yes. Unfortunately, yes, it's very frequent. And in your opinion, which is the most frequent painful disease in horses? We always take into account sport and leisure, so riding horses. I lost the mouse. I don't know. Okay, I will see this later. Someone want just to comment and say which is the most frequent painful disease. I think injuries or, don't know, orthopedic pain is quite common. Okay. Oh, back pain, okay. Ulcers, lameness, arthrosis, yes. You are right. Unfortunately, horses can have several painful diseases. And which is the sign that tells you that your horse is in pain? When you call the vet. Not moving, not eating, behavior, changing behavior, mimic, pain face. So many different signs that you can pick up on your horse. And I think that really we need to look at our horses and understand if they are not fine. Horses, as you know, need different levels of fitness and muscles for different disciplines. Of course, if I can compare an endurance horse and a dressage horse, they are completely different. The first one should be thin and without fat on their body, and a dressage horse maybe need to be more strength. But you need always to consider that to have a good performing horse, we need to train, and training can lead to injuries. And injuries are always, or often linked to the sport we are doing with our horses. So it's important for different equine disciplines to assess the horse, and vet check should be focused on different parts of the body to be sure that they are not in pain. Another important aspect is that sport injuries can occur due to overtraining, but also lack of conditioning, that for sport and leisure horses, or pleasure riding, they are often is like this because they are not fit enough. They are overweight sometimes and in proper form. And another important aspect for competing horses is failing to warm up. Failing to warm up increases the risk of sport injuries because they are not ready to perform. So it's another aspect that we need to take into account when we work with our horses. Pain is an enormous problem in terms of horse health and welfare. And as you pointed out, lameness and back pain are really common in horses athletes, with an estimated prevalence varying from 27% to 100% of healthy ridden horse population, meaning that they are ridden and then assessed from a vet, and the vet found that they were in pain. Another important thing is that there is not only orthopedic pain. How many horses have gastric ulcers is very common pathology and has an estimated prevalence varying from 49 to 89% of sport horses, so horses that are competing in different activities. And gastric ulcer is a painful disease. I mean, we do not treat pain, but it is painful, especially when the horse is moving. So it's trotting or galloping or walking. When we assess pain, we always should take into consideration that pain is subjective, so the horse reaction can be different even if the pain is the same, so different individuals can react differently. And the problem is that owners, riders, and trainers fail to recognize or to acknowledge that the horse is in pain. Usually, when the horse is in pain, it changes its behavior, as you said before. Horses can become less responsive to aids, less active, not moving, and reduce and they do this behavior just to reduce their pain level. If I move, I feel worse, so I just do not move. And this is really important because they start resisting the commands, and the rider maybe do not understand that they are in pain, and they start to increase the pressure on the horse. And when the pain becomes chronic, these symptoms may continue, so for a while, but it can be that the horse develop other behaviors and other signs of stress or discomfort. And sometimes we label them as misbehaving horses, so the horse is not behaving in the way I would like he behaves. And for this reason, maybe we will call a trainer to try to solve the issue of the horse, but then the pain level of the horse just become worse and worse every day because we cannot recognize he's in pain. Another aspect is related to equipment that we use for riding. If we use the equipment in the correct way, we never create lesions or injuries to the horse mouth or the horse body. The equipment should be used just to foster the communication between the rider and the horse. But we need to consider that if the equipment is not used in the right way, it can be harmful and it can create important lesions and injuries to the horse. And the horse feels pain every time we use the reins or the spurs. And some of these horses can start reacting to this pain, chewing or trying to avoid this pain, I don't know, kicking or rearing. And these traumatic injuries can be different. But of course, if we do not check the mouth of our horses, maybe we cannot understand that there is a problem. So another important aspect is to control the mouth of the horse or where we use the aids to be sure that the equipment is the right equipment and is not causing injuries and pain to our horses. Another aspect, important aspect, is the education of horse owners, riders, and trainers to correctly identify signs of pain even when the horse is ridden. So if we understand that maybe a movement or something that we did when we are on the saddle is causing pain to the horse, we need to understand why and try to change this situation. Another important aspect is the noseband issue. Nosebands are used in equestrian sport to hold the bit in place and reduce the mouth opening, but recent findings report that noseband, by determining a sustained pressure on the mouth of the horse, they compress soft and hard tissues, and can induce chronic changes even into the underlying bone. So it's really, really important to understand that they can cause pain. Sometimes the horse tries to open the mouth just because it's in pain, and it cannot survive to this pressure on the mouth. So, to conclude, we have seen many different things today, but now the question is how we can improve welfare of ridden horses. The first thing that I think is the most important is that horses are not spiteful, moody or evil. Always consider they can be in pain, and pain can change the behavior and can make an unwanted or problematic behavior rise. Take into account horse emotion when you train. Avoid punishment, because punishment will only increase the negative horse emotional state and make the situation even worse. If they feel fear, if they are in fear, they just try to fly. Consider, and you learned this morning, the other 23 hours. So if you can give to the horse regular physical exercise, they will be fit enough then to be ride. Movement can increase the production of endorphins. And another important aspect is providing some environmental enrichment. They are intelligent animals. They need to use their brain, and they cannot use their brain only 1 hour twice a week. The life of horses is boring. So if we can give them some social interaction, object to play with, or different environment to explore, they will become less anxious. They enhance their learning and memory, and they also be more prone to interact with us. And the very last one is to try to create positive association when you train your horse. Try to build a calm environment. So go to the riding arena where you are not stressed and you can concentrate on what you are doing with your horse. Try to improve the use of equipment and aids, and try to, if you are an instructor, to teach to your students to improve the use of equipment and aids. Try to build some variety, so not doing the same routine, always the same thing, because for the horse it's boring. If you go to the work and you do every day the same thing, then is not an enrichment for your brain. It's just doing your own work. And when a horse is in trouble, so maybe it does not understand our request, just ask them to complete the task that you identified as a preferred task, and reward if they perform well, because they need to be in a good emotional state to be ready to learn.
Merci beaucoup, Emanuela. Je suis tout à fait d'accord avec tout ce que tu as dit, y compris le diapositive là sur le changement de comportement. Parce que ça, je dois dire, j'ai vu des centaines de chevaux dans ma pratique où la première chose qu'on voyait, c'était un changement de comportement quand les chevaux avaient un problème de douleur quelque part, etc. Ça, c'est vraiment, je pense, l'observation, le point le plus essentiel. Enfin, ça, c'est mon avis aussi. Voilà, est-ce qu'il y a des questions? Vous gênez pas, hein? Non?
Non.
Bon.
Sleeping.
Non, je crois pas, mais ça a été très complet. Tu as dit tout ce qu'il fallait dire.